Welcome to Chamber Connections, the podcast from the Greater Bartow Chamber of Commerce. Our goal is simple to connect businesses with one another, with community leaders, and with the information that helps our local business community thrive. Before we get started, we'd like to thank Citrus Air, the official studio partner of Chamber Connections. Their support made it possible to bring these conversations to life and provide valuable information to our local business community. Today's episode is a perfect example of that mission. The City of Bartow recently adopted a new anti litter ordinance for commercial businesses, and we're starting to hear some questions. What does the ordinance actually require? Who does it apply to? And what steps should businesses be taking now? Joining me today is Tray Towles, Assistant City Manager for the City of Bartow. Tray has been instrumental in helping educate our business community about the new ordinance, and today he's here to walk us through what business owners need to know. Thank you, Tray, for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Michelle. I'm glad to be here. This ordinance has generated a lot of questions, and I'm looking forward to helping clear up some of the confusion, explaining what businesses can expect moving forward, and what our enforcement initiatives look like in the future.
All right. Well, we appreciate you being here to answer some of those questions. Let's start with why did the city feel it was important to have this ordinance?
So, there are many reasons. Among them are keeping the commercial corridors attractive, protecting our stormwater systems, creating cleaner business districts, supporting businesses by improving our first impressions when you drive into the city, and then community pride. So, I'll talk a little bit about each of those, as you know, and kind of hone in on really what we're looking at. So, let's start with keeping our commercial corridors attractive. Clean business district, as you well know, creates a positive first impression for customers and visitors. It's
Mhm.
all about first impressions when you drive into Bartow. What do people expect to see when they drive into their capital city here in Polk County? And so the appearance of one property, if it's unkempt, it often influences how people perceive an entire corridor. And if we have well-maintained commercial areas here in Bartow, then we're going to get repeat customers and we're going to get new investors in the city.
It makes it more inviting.
It does, absolutely, 100%. Compare our corridors to some of the other corridors here in Polk County, and there are some very unattractive corridors, and that's exactly what we're trying to avoid.
Okay, perfect. So some people will hear the word ordinance and immediately think about punishment. Is that the goal?
No. So the goal is education first. We want our business owners to understand the city's expectations, why we have those expectations, and how we can partner with them to make this ordinance a reality versus an enforcement mechanism.
I like that you're partnering with them.
Absolutely. That's key to everything we do at the city. We're not in it for the revenue that citations generate or anything like that. It's all about, again, the main goal of keeping the city clean. And if we can do that through partnerships, then that's the best way to do that.
Okay. So let's talk about who needs to be paying attention. Who does the ordinance apply to?
So this ordinance applies only to commercial properties, and generally speaking, that's places like retail stores, restaurants, professional offices, our big shopping centers, commercial plazas, any other type of commercial property, and then also property management companies and any other commercial properties that are open to the public.
So it sounds like this is going to be harder for some property owners than it is others.
It has the potential to be, and again, we want to make sure that we're working with those individuals and those companies who may have a little bit harder time coming into compliance with this. There are many solutions that the city offers, especially for large shopping centers, to reduce some of the blight they're currently experiencing and give them ways to clean up their properties that makes it more efficient for them.
Okay. Can you talk about some of those opportunities through the city?
Sure. So our solid waste people are great here at the City of Bartow, and our manager over there, Mike, is really good about hearing what our business owners have to say, hearing what problems they're encountering when it comes to their solid waste issues, and then finding a solution for them. And I'll give you a good example. We had a business shopping center in one of our commercial corridors who had about 13 individual dumpsters on their property. And
Wow.
the problem with having that many dumpsters is that it actually itself creates an attractive nuisance. People drive up to them, they drop their stuff off, the trash falls out of them. So you got 13 of those things on one property. You can imagine it creates a problem.
I'm
So
sure.
we went in, we evaluated that area, and we determined they only needed 3 commercial dumpsters. And so since we've gone down and eliminated a lot of those problem areas, their parking lot has been way cleaner. And it's also been easier for their merchants to access those areas and know where they need to put their trash and keep the trash in the dumpsters.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, one question that I've heard is what exactly am I responsible for? Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the ordinance applies to any exterior areas under the business's ownership or control. So we're talking sidewalks. You want to keep them free of litter and debris. Parking lots. You want to conduct routine litter inspections. And remember, this is not just after hours. This is during business hours too. We want to make sure that at the end of the day, when owners or their employees are wrapping up, they don't have this big haul that they have to do at the end of the night and clean up. That they're staying on it during the day, and we do also recognize that employees are working, and so sometimes they don't have a lot of opportunity to step away and go out and clean up parking lots. So the way we wrote this ordinance, it requires by the end of the day that things be cleaned up. So my team is not going to be out there during the daytime hawking individual businesses waiting for someone to drop trash. That's just not how we work. We want people to have an opportunity and again embrace this and look at it more as a way to attract people versus a way for us to punish people.
Sure.
We also would look at entryways. Again, dumpster areas is another good example. Any kind of customer access areas. And then the big one is really retention ponds and stormwater systems, which is where we see a lot of accumulation of garbage and debris in the city.
Why do you think there's more debris there?
They're because they're out of the way. They're usually surrounded by tall grass, or there's tall grass in those retention areas. And so they have a tendency to be almost like a net for garbage that's blowing around. And, we saw this with one of our bigger shopping centers here in Bartow. The shopping center was clean, but when you drove around behind it and you saw the stormwater system, it took away from what they were doing in front of the building,
Okay.
simply because the stormwater system was what you saw when you were driving up from the backside. And so, luckily, we were able to work with that company. They were able to get it cleaned up. But it makes a huge difference when you have a lot of trash accumulated in the grassy, marshy areas behind your business.
Sure. I imagine that's difficult to clean up as well.
It is. It's not easy. In the instances that we've seen, people have had to rent boats. They've had to wait for them to dry out so that they can actually walk into them and clean them up. Some of them have had to dredge their stormwater systems
Wow.
because, again, those lead to our creeks and our rivers and our waterways here in Bartow, and they all end up downstream and in the ecosystem. So it's important that they keep these areas clean, not only because to keep the trash out, but to let the water flow in and out like it's supposed to do to prevent flooding.
So I imagine too that's where that partnership comes in because you would be having conversations with those business owners about what is in their retention ponds and how much time they need or are allowed to have to clean those things up.
Yeah, we always start any enforcement action with a conversation because we want to get to the root of the problem. We want to find out why there's a violation to begin with. A lot of times there's a story behind it.
Sure.
And so if we start out with a conversation with folks, then generally that will disarm them, and then we can start working on that partnership because again, we want lasting compliance. We don't want to just clean up this one time. We want it to continue in perpetuity so that we don't have to reach back out to them again in the future.
Before we jump back into the conversation, here's a quick note. Chamber Connections is made possible by businesses that believe in strengthening our local community. If you'd like to put your business in front of Chamber members and listeners across Polk County while supporting this podcast, we'd love to partner with you. To learn more about becoming a sponsor, send an email to rachel@bartowchamber.com. Another question I know a business owner has asked is what happens if someone throws trash on my property? Am I responsible for that trash?
So yes, unfortunately, if you invite the general public onto your property and they throw trash down, you're responsible for that. I haven't always been a government employee. I had the pleasure of owning my own business
Mm-hmm.
as well, and I always knew that if I had people on my property or people at my coffee shop, which is what I owned, that if they got up and left a table and left trash on the table, somebody had to clean that up, and that somebody was me.
Right.
So whether it's driving through your parking lots or whether it's, hanging out on your sidewalk, by allowing folks to do that, you're also taking on that responsibility to clean up after them, unfortunately, or fortunately, if you have a lot of business.
Sure. And I'm sure that the restaurants appreciate the fact that you're not coming by in the middle of rush hour to catch them with trash out there. That you said that you would wait till the end of the day and give people a chance to be able to pick those things up.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I know that a lot of these businesses they're hiring individuals and they only have enough individuals to carry out what that business is trying to do during the day, what
Right.
function they're trying to serve. And so we don't want to be pulling people off of registers. We don't want to be pulling people off of grills so they can go out and clean up the parking lot. But what we would like to see is that the businesses take time and make an effort at the end of the day to clean that parking lot up. So the next day when they start, it's a clean slate and their customers can come in and they can do it all over again, basically.
Yeah. And if they're doing it every day, hopefully it becomes a smaller problem.
Absolutely. If you get we all know that if you get the mechanisms in place in your business to do what you need to do, whether it be trash cans or whether it be, yeah, just a simple method of going around and making a checklist of cleaning up your parking lot, cleaning up your sidewalks, you get those things in place and it becomes second nature. And again, a lot of these businesses are already doing this. We're just asking them to essentially codify what they're doing and make it an official thing.
Okay. So if most of the businesses are already doing it, why make it official?
Because some businesses aren't doing it. And so we all live in a society where sometimes you have a few outliers who don't do the right thing. And unfortunately, when you have folks like that who don't do the right thing, you kind of have to, especially when you pass an ordinance or when the city commission passes an ordinance, you can't say one group of people has to do it versus another. It has to apply to everyone.
Sure.
But that's where the enforcement comes in. That's where the conversations come in. And that's where the opportunity for us to engage with our business owners comes in because there's not a one size fits all for enforcement.
And you've spent a lot of time going out and meeting all the business owners.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, partnerships are important. They're important to me as a assistant city manager. They're important to our city manager, Mike Herr. He is all about building partnerships and relationships within our community, whether it be our businesses or individuals or our community members. And this is just another way for us to do that and keep Bartow cleaner and safer.
Right. Make it more inviting.
Absolutely.
Nice. Okay, so let's make this practical. If I'm a business owner listening today, what should I start doing?
So what I would say first is you probably want to walk your property, probably want to make a checklist about the areas that you see have the potential for trash accumulation and make it a habit every day of going to those areas and making sure they remain clean. We're not asking people to put trash cans on their property where there aren't any currently. Albeit that might be a better way for them to prevent people from throwing trash down.
Sure.
There is kind of a science to it when you start to look at it. But we're just asking people to basically have a routine and follow that routine and make sure that that routine includes cleaning up the property before the end of business every day.
So if a business owner does add a new trash receptacle, are they responsible for that receptacle?
They are. The trash, one of the big things about the ordinance is you can't have overflowing trash cans. So if you're going to place a trash can out in your property, and again, another great example of this is convenience stores.
Mhm.
We all see them around town. They put the trash receptacles out at the islands where people fuel, and then those trash receptacles during the day inevitably become full, and they start to flow over into the parking lot.
Sure.
And so if you're going to put those out there, then you're going to have to clean them up, and you can't let them overflow during the course of business all day long. But if you clean them up once in the morning, empty that trash bag, maybe come out once in the middle of the day, just checking on it or replace it if needed. And then at the end of the night, you should be good. I don't think it's something where people need to lose sleep over whether or not their trash cans are overflowing.
Yeah, I'm sure they appreciate that.
Absolutely, yes.
All right. So also, I'm sure businesses cannot just sweep their litter out into the road.
That's correct. Not only is that bad for the environment and bad for our stormwater system, but it's also illegal. There's a thing that we in the business and government call illicit discharge, and that's where you're placing either chemicals or grass clippings or trash into the stormwater system intentionally or non-intentionally. There are fines associated with that, and in this scenario, there's definitely a fine associated with sweeping anything into the streets or into the gutters when we're talking about cleaning sidewalks and things like that.
Okay. So let's talk about enforcement. So right now we're in an education period. You're letting everyone know what's going on. Um, can you tell us more about the education period and how long that's going to last and what all you're doing in order to educate?
Yeah, so we passed this ordinance back a few months ago, so it's been in effect, and we've been educating the public for quite some time now, educating our business owners, and I foresee us probably continuing that trend through August, and then probably around about early September, we're going to start enforcing that. And so, what do I mean when I say enforcement? Well, that's going to be actively going to these businesses who are in violation and having that conversation first and foremost.
Mhm.
We're not going to go out and just automatically begin writing citations. We're still going to have those conversations. We're still going to give people an opportunity to clean up. In fact, state law requires that a code enforcement officer give a business owner an opportunity to come into compliance before issuing any type of violation. And
Okay.
so that's what we're going to do. Now, if we give you a warning or we give you two warnings and we have to come back and we have to tell you again, then we've met the statutory requirement for notifying you. You're probably going to get a citation the next time around. And unfortunately, with this type of violation, you're looking at an automatic $500 fine because it falls under our litter ordinance. And we, along with doing this ordinance amendment for the businesses to start cleaning their parking lots and areas, we've raised the fines as well for any type of littering violation to $500 minimum fine automatically.
Okay.
If it continues to get out of hand, we have options that include going in front of a magistrate. We go in front of a magistrate, you could receive up to a $5,000 fine because
Wow.
it's what's considered an irreparable violation. Once the violation occurs, you can't cure it at that point. So we could seek fines up to $5,000 if businesses really just don't want to cooperate.
Okay. So if I own a business and there's trash outside my business and you come by and you notice that trash, walk me through how that works.
So if our investigators drive by and we see trash in the parking lot, again, we're going to stop. We're going to
Mhm.
get out. We don't do drive-by code violations where we, go by, take a picture, we disappear, and we show up later with a violation notice. We're going to stop. We're going to have that conversation. Going to probably ask you to step outside so we can point out the areas that need some attention
Okay.
and have that conversation with you. And then we're probably going to give you, depending upon what the violation severity is, give you a reasonable amount of time to come into compliance and remain in compliance. And then at that point, again, if we have to move on to enforcement, then we'll conduct that enforcement.
Okay. I really appreciate that you're going to go in and have the conversation and even show them what the violation is so that they have every opportunity to make it right.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, we want to be able to say that we had that conversation and that we did give every opportunity, like you said, for them to come into compliance. Because
Mhm.
at that point, if they haven't come into compliance, you really can't blame anybody but themselves. And
Right.
really, that's how we conduct all of our code enforcement in the city of Bartow. We're not a what you would be considered a got you code enforcement department. We really want to give people the opportunity to gain that compliance and remain in compliance. That's how we do business here, and not just in co-compliance, but in every aspect of what we do at the City of Bartow.
Yeah. And I've seen that be evident.
Absolutely. We're here to serve the public. Not every person in the public may agree with the ordinances that we have or that we have to enforce, but at the end of the day, we are public servants. And so it's kind of incumbent upon us to educate and convey that message as much as possible before taking action against our citizens. We are here for, again, the common good of Bartow.
Right. All right. So before we wrap up, what is the biggest takeaway that you want businesses to walk away with?
So again, I think the biggest takeaway here is this is a partnership. We are going to rely heavily on the businesses to accept the feedback that we're offering them, accept the opportunity to embrace the ordinance, And again, this is going to benefit everyone. When you drive into Bartow, you want a cleaner, safer Bartow, and it starts in our business corridors. So I think that's the big takeaway here is that as a business, if you clean up, you do the right thing, you keep your areas, your stormwater systems, your sidewalks, your parking lots, you keep them clean, that's going to generate a positive image for the city of Bartow, and it's going to keep people coming back to Bartow in the long run because they're going to go home, they're going to leave, and they're going to have left with an experience, a positive experience versus just a trip through Bartow.
Mhm.
And so that's what we want people to think about. We want them to have good thoughts about the city and about how clean it is and think, man, that what a beautiful city. I always want to return back to Bartow and go do whatever it is that I need to get done. And that's really the big takeaway here.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in
Absolutely.
today.
Thank you for
And
having me. I appreciate it.
yeah, it's been a great conversation. I think that we've learned a lot. And I think that what you're doing in the city has really we're already seeing a big difference. Main Street is clean, it's got beautiful flowers, it's very inviting. And I know a lot of the shopping centers have been cleaned up since you've come on with code enforcement as well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and we appreciate everything that the chamber does, and appreciate the chamber for getting the message out there and being a partner, a good partner with the city as well. So, any chance that we have to work with you or for you to work with us, we are open to that, and we're and again open to working with any of the members of the chamber and any of the business owners in Bartow.
Nice. We'll have to have you back for another conversation.
Absolutely, I'm here anytime you want to talk.
If you're a business owner and you'd like to learn more, or if you have questions about how the ordinance applies to your property, we encourage you to reach out to the city's Office of Code Compliance and Neighborhood Services. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to Chamber Connections so you don't miss future conversations connecting Bartow businesses with people, resources, and information that matter most. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.